Ever since Sinners hit the theaters in early 2025, it grabbed the horror genre by the throat and refused to let go. But look past the bloodbaths and the blues, and you'll find a treasure trove of secrets Ryan Coogler buried deep in the frames. Did you catch the Disney Channel movie that inspired the villain? Or the hidden faction of vampire hunters that barely got a mention? That's why today, we're breaking down the blink and you'll miss it details that turn this blockbuster into a modern masterpiece. The twin dilemma, smoke and stack. We have to start with the cinematic magic trick that anchors the entire film. Michael B. Jordan playing twins. We've seen actors pull double duty before, think Nicolas Cage in Adaptation, or Lindsay Lohan in The Parent Trap, but Jordan and Coogler were playing a different game here. Jordan wasn't just swapping costumes, he was essentially filming two different movies simultaneously. In recent press rounds, Jordan revealed the exhausting reality of this process. Every scene featuring smoke and stack had to be shot multiple times, with Jordan memorizing not just his lines, but the precise timing of his own body language. He had to know exactly when smoke would sigh, so Stack could react to it 3 hours later. To help the audience and the exhausted crew keep track, they leaned heavily into color theory. Smoke, the trauma-hardened cynic, is almost always framed in cool, oppressive blues and grays. Stack, the charming dreamer, is draped in warm, inviting reds and earth tones. But here's the detail that really sells it. Jordan consulted with real-life twins, Noah and Logan Miller, to understand the psychic weight of twinhood. He learned that twins often share a passive frequency, a way of existing in a space together without needing to constantly look at one another. If you rewatch the diner scene, notice how Smoke and Stack rarely make direct eye contact. They don't need to. They operate as a single organism, with two heads. It's a subtle acting choice that turns a special effect into a believable brotherhood. The Disney Channel connection? Okay, this is easily the weirdest fact on the list, so stay with me. When you look at Remick, the terrifying vampire villain played by Jack O'Connell, you probably see a metaphor for colonization, or a nod to Bram Stoker. You probably don't see a connection to the 2001 Disney Channel original movie, The Luck of the Irish, right? But believe it or not, that's exactly what Ryan Coogler cited as an inspiration. During a panel, Coogler admitted that the Disney movie about a basketball-playing leprechaun sparked his initial curiosity about the intersection of Irish and Black history. This weirdly specific rabbit hole led to the creation of Remick, a pre-colonial Irish vampire. Remick isn't your standard Transylvanian count. He's an ancient creature who uses his own history of oppression to manipulate his victims. In the film, he tries to bond with the Black characters by bringing up the British oppression of the Irish, effectively saying, "We're the same, you and I." It's a masterclass in gaslighting. He weaponizes his trauma to feed on theirs. It flips the script on the sophisticated vampire trope. Instead of a seductive aristocrat, we get a parasitic colonizer who uses the language of liberation to enslave people. And to think, we have a Disney Channel leprechaun to thank for one of the most complex horror villains of the decade. The Hidden War, the Choctaw Connection. Here's a detail that flew under the radar for 90% of the audience, but it blows the world building wide open. Early in the film, there is a throwaway line about why Remick is in the American South in the first place. He isn't on vacation, he's running. Specifically, he's running from a group of Choctaw vampire hunters. The film briefly implies that before crashing the juke joint, Remick and his vampire brood were being hunted by Native American warriors who have known about these leeches for centuries. This adds a fascinating layer to the movie's lore. It suggests that in the Sinners universe, marginalized communities have been fighting a shadow war against these monsters for generations, completely unknown to the white history books. Coogler even uses a specific sound in the score, a Choctaw chanter, to represent this off-screen threat. It's a brilliant piece of less is more storytelling. We don't see the Choctaw hunters yet, but their presence is felt. It frames the vampires not as apex predators, but as an invasive species that the indigenous people of the land are actively trying to weed out. If we ever do get a prequel, forget the vampires. I want to see the movie about the Choctaw warriors clearing the Mississippi Delta of the undead. The musical battlefield. You can't talk about Sinners without talking about the music, can you? But we need to look closer at how the music is used. Composer Ludwig Göransson scored the film perfectly, creating a musical war between two cultures. On one side, you have the sound of the South, the dobro resonator guitar, the harmonica, the heartbeat of the blues. This represents humanity, resilience, and the warmth of the juke joint. On the other side, for the vampires, Göransson used traditional Irish fiddles, but warped and twisted into something aggressive. Throughout the movie, These two sounds are fighting for dominance in the mix. When Remix steps into the juke joint, the score literally clashes, with the fiddles trying to drown out the blues. And then there's the visual shift. During the 6-minute seance scene, where Sammy plays I Lied to You, the aspect ratio of the film changes. The screen expands vertically, utilizing the full IMAX canvas. It's a subconscious trigger that tells the audience, we have left reality. The background dissolves from a dusty 1930s room into a kaleidoscope of black musical history, from African dancers to 1970s funk to modern DJs. It's the film's thesis statement. The music is the weapon. The vampires want to consume it because they have no reflection, no soul, and no culture of their own. They are trying to steal the one thing they can't kill. The lie of the guitar. Speaking of weapons, let's talk about Sammy's guitar. For the first hour of the movie, it's treated like a holy relic. The characters speak in hushed tones about how it belonged to Charlie Patton, the real-life father of the Delta blues. It gives the object a mythic status, like a wizard's staff. But in a devastating twist, Jordan revealed that this was a lie the twins told Sammy. The guitar didn't belong to a blues legend. It belonged to Smoke and Stack's father, a violent, abusive man that Smoke eventually had to kill to protect his family. The twins invented the Charlie Patton story to shield Sammy from the ugly truth of their lineage. They took a physical symbol of their trauma and repackaged it as a symbol of hope. This recontextualizes the climax in a powerful way. When Sammy uses that guitar to smash Remix's skull, he isn't just hitting him with a piece of wood. He is literally taking the weapon of his abuser and using it to destroy a monster. He's breaking the cycle of violence by turning the tool of his oppression into the tool of his liberation. It transforms a cool action beat into a profound moment of psychological healing. The real monsters. Now we have to address the ending that has everyone arguing on Twitter. After surviving a night of supernatural terror, after staking the head vampire and watching the brood burn in the sun, Smoke doesn't get a hero's walk into the sunset. He is gunned down in the light of day by the local KKK and the white landowner, Hogwood. Some fans were frustrated by this, wanting Smoke to survive, but Jordan and Coogler have been adamant that this ending was necessary. Sinners is a horror movie, yes, but it's set in the Jim Crow South. To pretend that vampires were the biggest threat to a black man in 1930s, Mississippi would have been a fantasy too far. The film establishes a brutal hierarchy of monsters. The vampires are dangerous, but they are primal and somewhat predictable. The real horror, the monsters of the day, are the organized, systemic forces of racism. Smoke can learn to kill a vampire. He can figure out the rules of stakes and sunlight, but he cannot outmaneuver the systemic violence of his era. It's a gut-wrenching conclusion that aligns the film with the bleak social commentary of Night of the Living Dead. It forces the audience to admit that while we can cheer for the death of a movie monster, the real-world monsters are much harder to kill. The 90s and Buddy Guy. Finally, let's talk about that post-credits scene, because it is the perfect chaser to that heavy ending. We jump forward 60 years to the 1990s. We see an old man in a bar, still clutching that same battered guitar. It's Sammy, but he's now played by the actual blues legend Buddy Guy. When Stack and Mary, still young, still vampires, and dressed in incredible 90s grunge fashion, walk in and offer him immortality, Sammy turns them down. He chooses to be old. He chooses to die eventually. Why? Because his mortality is what makes his music real. Casting Buddy Guy wasn't just a cool cameo. It was a statement. It says that the real bluesmen, the people who carried this culture through the fire, are the true immortals. They didn't need to drink blood to live forever. They did it through the vinyl grooves and the stories they passed down. Sammy won. He lived a full human life, while Stack and Mary are frozen in time, forever hungry, forever watching from the sidelines. It's a beautiful, defiant note to end on. That's the breakdown, folks. Sinners isn't just a creature feature. It's a dense, layered text that demands a second watch. Did you spot the Choctaw connection? Are you Team Smoke or Team Stack? And honestly, would you watch a sequel about Vampire Stack navigating the 90s hip-hop scene? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button to support the channel, and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next deep dive. Until then, enjoy your popcorn.